So before we finished our classes, you were clapping. That means you want me to leave. Now we are clapping means again you want me to leave immediately. Must. Yeah, so shall we start? Or you want to take a little bit of time? No problem. Please continue with your cultural activities. I will wait for you. So we will be starting this governance topic of our GS paper 2. We will not be looking at governance. There are some topics which are common to governance and ethics papers. That also we will be discussing, all those topics also. So first let us look at what we are discussing as part of governance, and why this governance is important from our examination point of view. Why it is important? Yes, that is the reason why I said I will tell you, right? This is not only important for you to get into civil services, more importantly after you get into civil services also, because all of you will be called administrators once you get into civil services, either fortunately or unfortunately, that is a different thing. You will be called administrators, and you should know what is administration, what is governance. When you go to Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, Mussoorie, when you go, I said, I did not say if you go, let us assume that all of you will be there only, right? Let's hope and wish, because dreams cost nothing, right? Yes, only thing that is required is sleep, which all of you are experts, because you have studied Article 21, right to sleep, right? So when you go to the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, as part of your foundation course, it will be from say the month of September till December, around 3.5 or 4 months you have foundation course. There you will be studying 5 papers. One paper is what is called public administration and governance. So whatever we are discussing now as part of governance, over the next 2 weeks or so, all those things will be repeated there in your labasna. And at the end of that 3.5 months course of foundation, there they will conduct examinations also. They will give you gold medals also once you top the examination, and 1 gold medal can be yours after studying governance. And then of course when you go to the field, when you become sub-collectors and collectors, and that is what the knowledge that you need. It does not really matter whether you know what is a sedimentary rock or not, right? But what you should know is governance, because all of you are going to be administrators. That is the reason why I would say this is one of the most important topics in our syllabus. from our UPS examination point of view, and also more importantly once you get into services. Because once you know the conceptual aspects of governance, automatically you can easily become good administrators also. Right? That is the reason why it is not only important from your examination point of view, in general it can make you efficient administrators also. So there are so many topics in governance which we have both in governance as well as ethics papers. What are those things and how we are going to cover? Almost I don't know whether they have started ethics or not for you. Okay, because to learn ethics also you need some kind of ethics, maybe that is the reason why. Right? No. So it will take time also. Anybody can learn physics or chemistry, but not ethics. Right? So almost you have 6 case studies in ethics paper. Each and every case study is related to governance only. That is the reason why as and when we do a particular topic, I will also tell you what are the case studies that were asked from the topic in your ethics paper and how to answer the case studies also. So from your examination UPSC mains point of view, we will be covering at least minimum around 150 marks of your ethics paper, case studies and section A, and around 75 marks of your polity governance also. That is what, at least minimum 50 marks. Nowadays UPSC is also very structured in terms of asking questions also. Polity they are asking around 125 marks. Then governance around 50 to 75 marks. IR international relations 50 marks. And rest of will be social issues. In fact, governance and social issues are what you call both of them are interrelated, governance and social issues. And what about the study material for all these things? I will be giving you the study material and most of it. Otherwise you have to read Second Administrative Reforms Commission reports. So first let us look at the syllabus, how we are going to proceed with the syllabus, and then I will also tell you about the study material also. So what are we starting with? We will start with exactly what is this governance, what is the definition of governance, then what is administration, what is governance, then what is this good governance. Obviously, when you have to know something about good, you should also have knowledge about bad. So first we will look at what is bad governance and then come to good governance. Right? Then we will look at these important secretariat reforms as part of governance. We will look at all the important secretariat reforms as part of governance. Then we will briefly look at a topic which is very close to our heart, corruption. Corruption. Basically, we will try to study how to become sufficiently corrupt. Sorry, we will try to have sufficient knowledge about corruption. Obviously, you can use that knowledge once you get into services also. Right? Then after corruption, we will talk about how to eradicate corruption. But we will not give that much emphasis to them because we are getting into services for a different reason. So we will talk about how to eradicate corruption. That is where we talk about all other governance reforms. We will talk about all other governance reforms. We will talk about the citizen charters. Please remember, all these are there in your ethics paper also. As and when we do those topics, I will also tell you, so that is so good. Someone is writing, I am in the bed in the hospital, but I don't want to miss your live class. That's why I am taking class from the hospital. Very good. That means when you attend my classes, you will go to? Very good. Is that what he's trying to say? Huh? Okay. Pardon? Huh? Okay, he the one. Okay. Right. Okay. Right. So, we will look at citizen charters. We will look at social audits. We will look at RTI, right to information. Right to information, transparency in administration. And we will also look at regulatory authorities. We have seen these things in our polity also, but we will try to again look at them, regulatory authorities. Then we will also study about self-help groups, women and development, right? We will also study pressure groups, look at NGOs, civil society organizations, and religious institutions, voluntary associations. All these organizations, right? Then we will also study this role of civil services in democracy. Role of civil services in democracy. We will also study about this role of civil services in democracy. As part of it, we will also study Max Weber's bureaucratic theory of organization. Max Weber's bureaucratic theory of organization. Max Weber's bureaucratic theory of organization. Then we will also study all the latest developments in public administration. UPSC is asking all these questions as part of governance. We will look at new public governance, impact of globalization on public administration, impact of globalization on public administration. Then we also look at multi-actor paradigm, model in governance. We will also be looking at a multi-actor paradigm model in governance. Right? We have mentioned self-help groups also. Right? So this is what broadly we will be studying as part of governance. And there are so many topics, as I have mentioned, which are a part of your ethics paper also. You can note down all those topics also, which are a part of ethics paper also, which are related to governance. What are they? We will also look at application of emotional intelligence in administration and governance. Application of emotional intelligence in administration and governance. Then we will be looking at this public and civil services values. Public and civil services values. Public and civil services values. Then we will also look at transparency in administration. transparency in government, right to information, RTI, right to information, citizen charters, they are also part of ethics. Citizen charters. We will also look at work culture within the government, a little bit of work culture within the government. Then we will also be looking at quality of service delivery mechanisms. Quality of service delivery mechanisms. Then we will also look at a little bit about challenges of corruption. Challenges of corruption. Challenges of corruption. Then we will also discuss about e-governance. E-governance, it is there both in your ethics and governance also. E-governance. Right. So these are all the topics which we shall be discussing, because Max Weber's bureaucracy, it is there both in our governance as well as ethics papers. So there are so many topics which are interrelated. As and when I come to those topics, I will also tell you what are the questions that they have asked from the ethics paper and how to write answers also. Similarly, whenever we discuss those topics, I will also tell you what are the ethics case studies that they have asked from those topics, because as we keep on saying, entire UPSC is all about interrelations only, finding out those interlinkages, right? So let us start with this governance. I will also give you the study material also. If you want, I will give you very less. If you want more, I can give you more also. More, no problem. I know all of you are, how many classes will it take to cover entire syllabus? Even before we have started also, right? Familiarity breeds contempt. I should be feeling bored about you people. Why should you be? We will complete the entire governance in 14 classes. 1-4. Maximum 14 classes. Otherwise it can be less also. Right? And obviously, as I said, from your mains perspective, at least in paper 2 and paper 4 combined together, we will be covering at least minimum 200 marks. 200 marks in 14 classes, I think it is a good bargain. We have done so many, for more than 40 classes of polity, but they are asking only 125 marks, right? And of course, you study geography for ages, not days, ages. You start with the Chalcolithic age, right? So obviously, from examination point of view, this is a topic which is marks fetching also, very important, because we can easily predict the questions and we can get the answers also. In the meantime, whenever we get some kind of free time, I will look at this year's mains question paper also, polity. Most of the things, I think you must have seen the question paper. Could you answer the questions? Almost most of the questions we can easily answer. Whether it is parliamentary committees or financial committees, where it is Article 356, the reasons, political and legal reasons why misuse of Article 356 has come down. We had given so many reasons also. Where it is about Article 21, right to life and personal liberty, right? Or the question about the judiciary, why independence of judiciary is necessary to ensure constitutional democracy, right? Most of the things, I said, when we started our polity classes also, I said that we should be able to answer 100% of questions. Same is the case with the governance and this ethics also. The good thing with UPSC is that they will never go beyond, they don't have the kind of courage also to go beyond, right? You know what, right? So see, very simple, because UPSC is asking mostly conventional questions. So you know that from where they are asking questions. For example, in governance, normally they ask all the time questions about this whether it is citizen charters or women and development or self-help groups or RTI or pressure groups or NGOs or corruption or how to remove corruption and how to ensure what is called job-led growth, all those things, right? So it's not at all difficult. So let us proceed and start with this. To understand about all these things, let us start from the basics. What exactly is administration? What is the meaning of the word administration? All of you are going to be administrators, right? All of you are going to be administrators. So tomorrow someone asks you, what is administration? What do you say? What do you say, administration? Most of the English words had their origins in Latin. So administration is a combination of two words, ad plus ministrare. It is a combination of two words, ad plus ministrare, which means to serve. To serve. Right? Don't worry, I will explain, I will dictate these things also. Right? If you want, I will dictate everything also, no problem. Dictate? Yes. Very good. Some things will never change. BC or AD, they will not change. Right? BC means before Corona. Right? Right. Right now, Corona is not dead. So that is the reason we don't have AD. Right? Administration means administration, the meaning of the word administration means ad plus ministrare, which means to serve. That means you are serving the interests of the organization. That is the reason why in the private sector also we call them as administrators. There is this misconception that those who are working in the government only are called administrators. That is not the case. Even the administrators, if you are working in the private sector, you are an administrator. If you are working for a civil society organization, then also you are an administrator. If you are working for an NGO, then also you are an administrator. You are only serving the interests of the organization. In case of private sector, the objective of the organization is to maximize profits. Whereas in case of the government, what is the objective? To maximize welfare of the people. Otherwise, you are only serving the interest of the organization. So why do we need this administration or governance? Why do we need governance? Why do we need administration? Why do we need? Simply because, as we studied in our polity also, we have mentioned that the natural tendency of any society is to move towards entropy. That means destruction. With the passage of time, the only thing that is constant in this world is moving towards destruction. There is no institution which can be called permanent. Why institutions are not permanent? Because of the fact that human beings are not permanent. When human beings are not permanent, can the institutions created by them are permanent? Obviously not. So if you want the institutions to continue for longer periods of time, what do you want? You must ensure what is called a negative entropy. Positive entropy means destruction. Negative entropy means continuation and sustainability for longer periods of time. And that is the reason why we need this administration. We need governance. These administrators are stabilizers of our society. These administrators are the agents of a change in our society. These administrators are the ones who will maximize welfare of people. These administrators are the ones who will ensure continuation of societies for a longer period of time. And that is the reason why, as we say, the development, if not the survival of any civilization, directly depends on the efficiency of its administration. If the administration is efficient, automatically that civilization will be automatically developed. What is the difference between India and say US or UK? They are developed countries and India is a developing country. Why India is still not a developed country? Because of inefficiency of its administration. Because of what we call bad governance. There is no rule of law. As we studied again in our polity, instead of constitutionalism, what we have is only constitutional formalism. The kind of difference between what is there in the constitution and what can we see in reality. Article 21 talks about right to life and personal liberty, but how many citizens in our country are able to enjoy that article? That is where administration will come into picture. If you are an extremely poor person, can you enjoy any of those fundamental rights? Obviously not. Again, this year the same question was asked. For example, National Legal Services Authority, why it had to come into existence in the first place? It had to come into the existence in the first place because justice could not be done to so many sections of society, as we discussed again in our judiciary topic. On paper, free legal aid is given to everyone. As part of the changes made under the 42nd Amendment also. But in reality, is it possible? You are a landless labor who is working in an agricultural field 300 kilometers away from the state capital. And Article 23, do you know about Article 23? Right against exploitation, beggar. Do you know? Even if you know, is it possible to fight against your landlord? Go to High Court and fight against landlord. That is the reason why our constitutional makers, especially our lawmakers, have said that let there be National Legal Services Authority. But again, at the end of the day, are the people able to utilize those things? Those are poorer sections of society. That is where administration will come into picture. Administrators are the ones who should be ensuring that all the fundamental rights that are enshrined in the Constitution are enjoyed by the people at the ground level. Right against discrimination, right against exploitation, right to freedom of speech and expression. And who are expected to ensure that even those who are at the bottom of the pyramid also enjoy those rights? Administrators. That is the reason why this public administration becomes extremely important. That is the reason why this question was asked so many times in our ethics paper also. Significance of public administration for the development of any society, for the development of any country. I will also dictate all those things also. Right? That is the reason why we need governance. We need efficient administrative systems. So what exactly is governance then? Governance simply means the process of taking decisions and implementing those decisions. Administrators are expected to take so many decisions. Tomorrow you are a district collector. There is a government land in the district. That land can be used, as we study in our economy also. There is this problem of scarcity. You must have heard about these things. Some of the natural resources are inelastic. That means they cannot expand according to the demands and needs of the people. Land is fixed. And this land has alternative uses. The land can be used for agricultural purposes. It can be used for irrigation. It can be used for industrial purposes. It can be used for constructing roads. It can be used for residential purposes. That is the government land. And tomorrow you are the district collector, you have to take a decision. That is what is called governance. You have to take a decision regarding the utilization of resources, both the natural resources, human resources. Why? For the benefit of overall development of the society and country. Not only you have to take a decision, you must also implement those decisions. That is what is called governance. It is the process of taking decisions, and also it is the process of implementing those decisions efficiently with the objective of maximizing welfare of the people, with the objective of bringing about socio-economic transformation of the society, with the objective of helping poorest sections of the society, those who are at the bottom of the pyramid, with the objective of ensuring inclusive and equitable growth, and with the objective of protecting and promoting the interests of weaker sections of society. That is the reason why you also need what is called ethics. You need values. Because whenever you are taking any decision, the decision will always automatically involve values. And that is the reason why this ethics, governance and public administration, all of them are interrelated. So let us look at all of them one by one in a more detailed manner. Let us start with administration. Administration. You can write. Administration is derived from the Latin word. It is derived from the Latin word, Latin, Latin word, administrare, A-D-M-I-S-T-R-A-R-E, N-I-S-T-R-A-R-A, administrator, which means to serve, which means to serve, which means to serve. That is, administrators are those people, administrators are those people who are expected to serve the interests, I-N-T-E-R-E-S-T-S, the interests or the objectives of organization. Are the objectives of organization. From the perspective of government, full stop, from the perspective of government, comma, administrators are expected to serve the interests of the country, the interests, I-N-T-E-R-E-S-T-S, of the country, and of its citizens, and of its citizens, of its citizens. They are expected to maximize the welfare of people. Maximize welfare of people. Next, governance. Governance. So, what are we discussing as part of governance? Why do we need governance? You can write on all these things, structure, era. Why do we need governance? What is governance? What is governance? Then, what is bad governance? Then, good governance. Good governance, its features and application. Its features and its application. This is what we will be discussing. Start with the why. Why do we need governance? Write down the natural tendency of any society, the natural tendency of any society or civilization is to move towards entropy. Is to move towards entropy. That is destruction. That is destruction. Governance is an instrument. Governance is an instrument that can help in promoting negative entropy. negative entropy, that can help in promoting negative entropy. That is sustainability of civilizations, for a longer period of time, That is the reason why we need governance. You can write down, for example, there are many countries in the world which are poor and backward, in spite of having best of natural resources, best, BEST, of natural resources, because of their inefficient governance systems. In brackets, Latin America, Sub-Saharan Africa, and South Asia. Full stop. At the same time, there are also other countries which have achieved rapid economic growth and development, in a short period of time, because of their efficient administrative systems. In brackets, Western Europe, North America, and Japan. Right. So that is the reason why we need governance. We need efficient administrative systems. That is the reason why we need governance. Next, let us look at the definition of governance. We have seen why do we need governance. Now look at the definition of governance. Governance is the process and institutions. Please remember, this question was asked in the ethics paper also. Definition of governance. They have asked governance, good governance, and ethical governance. The question in your ethics paper. So you have to give these definitions. Governance is the process and the institutions through which decisions are made and authority in a country is exercised. authority in a country is exercised. In a country is exercised. Second definition of governance. I am giving 3 definitions at least. When you go to the examination hall, you can remember at least one. Right? If I give one, you know what. Right? So I cannot take chances, as you know. Right? Next, governance is the method. Is the method through which power, P-O-W-E-R, power, is exercised in the management of power is exercised in the management of a country's C-O-U-N-T-R-Y apostrophe S, a country's economic, social and human resources are utilized for development. For development. One more definition. Governance is the exercise of economic, political and administrative authority. Economic, political and administrative authority to manage a country's affairs, A-F-F-A-I-R-S, at all levels. At all levels. It comprises the mechanisms, processes and institutions through which citizens and groups articulate their interests, A-R-T-I-C-U-L-A-T-A, articulate their interests, exercise their rights, meet their obligations, and mitigate M-I-T-I-G-A-T-A, mitigate their differences. So these are all the definitions of governance. So what is the essence of all these definitions? As we said, resources are there, people are there, and objectives are there. Goals are there. What governance does? It will interlink all of them. So what we are saying is that here, by taking decisions related to utilization of resources in consultation with the people, we are maximizing the welfare of people. Governance includes taking decisions and implementing those decisions. Governance includes creating institutions and ensuring effective functioning of institutions. What are the institutions that we are talking about here? Legislature. responsible for lawmaking, executive for implementation, judiciary for interpretation, bureaucracy, permanent institution, which would help the political executive in policy formulation. So governance means you are trying to interlink all these institutions. And the most important one here is people. People in a democracy are the beginning as well as the end of democracy. Whenever any political party comes to power, the objective of that political party is to maximize the welfare of people so that they can return to power again. So people will be articulating their interests. That means this is what they will be demanding. They will say that please give us employment. That means the government immediately will have to come out with a policy to create more employment for people. Once people get their employment, they will be satisfied and they will be voting back that political party to power again. That means you have to take the decision related to allocation of resources with objective of maximizing welfare of people. That is what we say governance. Creating institutions, ensuring that those institutions function in an effective manner with the objective of maximizing welfare of people. As part of governance, you are also providing opportunities for the people to articulate their demands, their interests. And how do people articulate their demands, their interests? With the help of media, with the help of civil society organizations, with the help of NGOs, with the help of pressure groups, they will articulate their interests. Of course, the most fundamental way of articulating their interests is through electoral process. When a political party comes out with the policies, and if people are not satisfied with the policies, then what will they do? They will vote against that political party and elect someone else to positions of power. So ultimately, governance is all about people and their empowerment. And this empowerment of people is possible only when you create institutions. And you must also ensure effective functioning of institutions. Institutions like legislature, executive, judiciary, bureaucracy, media, civil society organizations. And all these institutions must be functioning in an effective manner. You must have seen yesterday also in the newspaper, Supreme Court had become very, very critical of the government, because the government was sitting on almost more than 80 recommendations made by the collegium regarding the appointment of judges. That is where we say collapse of governance systems. When 80 judges appointments are stalled by the government, you can imagine the number of cases that will be pending. That is where we talk about ensuring effective functioning of institutions. Similarly, as we have discussed, Parliament passing laws without any discussion or debate on the floor of the House. That means Parliament not performing its functions. Similarly, bureaucracy, as we study later, has not been effective, say, in implementing developmental welfare schemes due to what you call bad governance, due to corruption. And that is the reason why a country's economic growth and development directly depends on its governance systems. As you have written, take the case of these poor countries, South Asian countries, Sub-Saharan African countries, Latin American countries. What is common to all of them? They have a good amount of natural resources, but why still they are poor? Because they don't have good governance. That is why we say that the countries people are poor, but not the country. Country is rich with natural resources. On the other hand, take the case of countries like Japan, which faces all kinds of natural disasters. Still, it is developed. Why? Because it has a good governance. Take the countries of UK and Europe and America. They have a strict implementation of what is called rule of law. A strict implementation of rule of law. You must have seen this G20 summit also. The British Prime Minister attended the G20 summit. Next day, he went back to London. And the next day, he had to face so many questions from the members of Parliament in House of Commons. That is what we say, parliament. They cannot escape. He cannot say that I just came from India, so I want to take rest, nothing like that. That reason why, their parliamentary democracy is more effective than India. Because under British parliamentary conventions, the Prime Minister will have to take questions from their members every Wednesday morning for 1 hour. They can ask any questions. And the Prime Minister has to stand up and provide answers. That is what we say effective functioning of institutions. Right? Do we have those kind of conventions in India? Do we have that kind of governance in India? We have created the institutions. The question this year also they have asked parliamentary committees. Why they are not at all effective in India? Why? Because we don't have good governance. The recommendations of parliamentary committees are never implemented by the government because there is no time frame for the government to implement the recommendations. In case of financial committees, as we have said that these financial committees are not at all effective for the simple reason that the Public Accounts Committee works on the basis of the recommendations made by CAG, and CAG performs a job which is post-mortem in nature. On the other hand, in United Kingdom, we said the CAG is Controller and Auditor General. In India, we have only Comptroller. They can only perform post-audit. That is what we say institutions. Governance is all about creating the institutions. It is all about ensuring the effective functioning of those institutions. And that is the difference between what is called a developed country and a developing country. In case of developed countries, we have these institutions which can ensure a strict implementation of rule of law. On the other hand, in developing countries, they are characterized by bad governance. That is where the problem. That is what you have written. It is about creating the institutions. It is about ensuring the allocation of resources. It is about giving opportunities to the people to express their problems. It is about ensuring implementation of those decisions in an efficient manner. That is what is called governance. That is what right. In simple terms, governance means taking decisions. In simple terms, governance means taking decisions and ensuring their effective implementation. Ensuring their effective implementation. Next, from a broader perspective, from a broader BROADER perspective, governance includes the following. Governance includes the following. First, creation of institutions. Creation of institutions like legislature, executive, judiciary, civil services, local self-governments, and so on. And so on. Second, these institutions are expected to take decisions. They are expected to take decisions related to utilization of resources. Utilization of resources, including human resources, including human, natural, financial, and technological. and technological. Next, third, governance also includes effective implementation of these decisions. Effective implementation of these decisions. Because effective implementation of these decisions, because a developing country like India, always faces the problem of scarcity of resources. Scarcity of resources. And their optimum utilization. Is a prerequisite. For rapid economic growth and development. Right. So this is what we say governance means. Governance is a much broader term which includes creation of institutions, effective functioning of those institutions, taking decisions related to utilization of resources, taking decisions related to meeting the demands of the people, and more importantly, ensuring effective implementation of those decisions. That is what we say governance. Institutions can be anything, as we have mentioned: legislature, executive, judiciary, then civil services, or even local self-governments. Or nowadays, we are living in this age of what is called multi-actor paradigm model of governance, wherein you are talking about private sector, multinational companies, multilateral institutions, self-help groups, pressure groups, NGOs. All of them are being part of governance. As we proceed, we will look at all of them also. And you have to make sure that all these institutions are given opportunity to express their demands, their wishes. Democracy is all about representation and participation. And that is what we say governance. Right? So proceeding further, let us look at what is bad governance. What exactly is bad governance? What are the features of bad governance? What is bad governance and what are these features of bad governance? So, what do you think are the features of bad governance? What do you think are the features of bad governance? Good governance, you have to think. Bad governance, you can see in front of you. No, not me. Very good. Right. And you are taking everything in a literal sense. Right. I say in front of you means in your day-to-day life. Right. So what do you see in your day-to-day life in terms of governance in India? Yes, tell me 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Okay, corruption. Is it bad governance? If you take bribes, it is good governance. If you are giving bribes, it is bad governance. So it is, right now, it is bad governance. We will take it. Okay, corruption. Yes, yes, absence of rule of law. Okay, next. Absence of rule of law. Next. Pardon? Red tapeism. Okay. Next. What? Yes, absence of quality service delivery mechanisms. Okay, absence of quality service delivery mechanisms. Next. Next, what are the other features of bad governance? Yes, absence of accountability. Okay. High levels of secrecy in administration. Right? High levels of secrecy. Next, in a concentration of power. Concentration of power in the hands of people at the top. All the power is in the hands of one person at the top. Right? Next, absence of accountability mechanisms. Accountability mechanisms in the society, in the system. When there is a 0.5 millimeter rainfall, the entire city would look like Bay of Bengal. Look at even during this G20 summit also. Unfortunately, on that day only it has rained, and near the summit almost entire area was also flooded, and the government had spent a huge amount of money. Where did their money go? Into the flood waters. Right? That is where. Next, absolute monopoly of the state. Absolute monopoly of the state. Absolute monopoly of the state. Next, dictatorial decision making process. Right? You can take down all these features. Features of bad governance. Features of bad governance. You can take all these features. First, corruption. Second, absence of rule of law. Absence of rule of law. Third, red tapeism in administration. Red tapeism in administration. Fourth, absence of quality service delivery mechanisms. Absence of quality service delivery mechanisms. For example, look at government schools, government hospitals. In government hospitals, what happens? You enter through the front door, come back through back door. You know, the government will give you free of cost salvation. Right? Your soul will be liberated from your body, free of cost. Right? So, that is what we say, absence of quality service delivery mechanisms. High levels of secrecy in administration. High levels of secrecy in administration. Next, concentration of power. Concentration of power in the hands of people at the top. Concentration of power in the hands of people at the top. That is also what we call it as centralization of power. Next, complete absence of accountability mechanisms. Accountability mechanisms within administration. Accountability mechanisms within administration. Next, absolute monopoly of the state. absolute monopoly of the state, absolute monopoly of the state over service delivery mechanisms, not service delivery, sorry, over allocation of resources, over allocation of resources, right. Next, dictatorial decision making process, dictatorial decision making process. Next, complete absence, next, complete absence of citizen participation, in governance, of citizen participation in governance. Citizen participation, write down, citizen participation in representative democracy, in representative democracy is only restricted, to voting in elections, to voting in elections. Next, bad governance feature, inability to resolve conflicts, to resolve, RESOLVE, conflicts, inability to resolve conflicts without resorting, RESORTING, to violence, without resorting to violence. The best example is Manipur. We cannot resolve conflicts without resorting to violence. We cannot resolve conflicts through peaceful means. That is what is called bad governance. Next feature of bad governance is failure of regulatory authorities. Failure of regulatory authorities to prevent systematic corruption, and crony capitalism, CRONY, crony capitalism and crony capitalism. These are all the features of bad governance. So I think most of these features are self-explanatory, right? Someone is asking, what is this red tapeism? What is red tapeism? How did this word red tapeism come into existence? What is this red tapeism? Have you ever visited government offices? Yes? Yes. Mostly unfortunate souls will have to commit these kind of crimes. Right? When you visit government offices, on the desk of the officer, you have seen a huge pile of files. Each file will be having 30, 40, 50 pages. And the file is tied with a red tape. I have seen that red tape is used to tie the entire file and all the papers also. And what happens over a period of time? The files keep on piling up on the table of the officer. They will not take any decisions. They will not take any decisions. Red tapeism basically involves inordinate delay in completion of a task by bureaucracy, by citing all those excuses like rules and regulations, hierarchy, written communication, so on and so forth. I'll just give you one interesting example for red tapeism, how the government functions. This happened in reality. So what happened in some of the central secretariat organizations, offices? It was hot summer, so the clerk had written on a file, he started a new file, saying that we must have at least one air conditioner in the room so that it can improve our efficiency. Extremely hot and humid. As you know, Delhi has only 3 seasons, hot, hotter and hottest. Right? Right? By this time, ideally, winter should have set in. Maybe 15 years back, around 2007 or 2008 or 2005. By this time in Delhi, by the first week of October, normally we don't require any fans also. Now, can you live without air conditioner also, even for a second? You will die. Simple. So it was extremely hot and humid. So he had written saying that please buy an air conditioner. Immediately the file went to his superior, head clerk. Head clerk has said that yes, buying an air conditioner is a good idea, but we will have to see whether we have the necessary budget for it or not. He has written one more page. The file started with 2 pages. By the time it went to head clerk, it will has increased to 4 pages. Then it went to their superior, assistant section officer. Assistant section officer has said that yes, we can buy air conditioner, but we can also look for some other cost-effective mechanism to reduce the cost of buying air conditioners. And he had written those things. And he said that please let my superior take the decision. It went to the section officer. Section officer has written that yes, air conditioner is a good idea, but we can also look for air coolers also. Air coolers are relatively cheaper. And he had written to his superior, please take the decision on the basis of the information that is being provided in the file. It went to the under secretary. From then onwards, the IAS officer will start. Under secretary has written that air conditioner and air coolers, both of them are good ideas. But let us look at the relative benefits and costs involved in all of them. And he said that air coolers can give you good air, but air conditioner will be more effective. Nobody will take the decision, please remember. Right? He would write it to his superior, saying that please take a decision on the basis of the above information. By this time, the file started with 1 page. It had increased to 50 pages. And then his superior has written that we can buy second-hand air conditioners or second-hand air coolers. It will also reduce. And his superior had written that can't we buy more fans in the room? It will reduce cost of production. And his superior had written that hand fans are also good. This also can be explored. This idea can be explored. By the time it reached Cabinet Secretary. Cabinet Secretary had said that this is a very important, significant matter related to national security, safety and development. Let this matter be discussed in the Cabinet Council of Ministers. By this time the summer was over and these people died also. That is what is called red tapeism. Nobody will take any decision. Nobody will take any decision. That is the reason why ethics paper, every case study about this only. Every case study. They will deliberately ask you as part of the alternatives, the choices that are given to you. You will refer the matter to your superior, one of the choices that are given. And that is what happens in the bureaucracy. Because if you take the decision today, tomorrow CAG will find fault with you, saying that why did you buy air conditioner? It means that you have some kind of unholy nexus with the air conditioner company. That is the reason why you got some profits also in the whole purchase. That is the reason why you have brought air conditioner, so we are suspending you. In the government, nobody takes decisions. Everyone will refer the matter to their superior only. In the process, the file keep on becoming larger. And to tie the file, this red tape is used. That is why it is called red tapeism. This is what happened. In a state secretariat, everything has to be done according to rules and regulations. In the government, the most important thing is you cannot violate rules and regulations. The moment you violate rules and regulations, you will be immediately suspended. There is nothing like that. First they will suspend you, and then they will talk to you. So nobody can ever imagine violating rules and regulations. That is the reason why every ethics case study about this only. How do you resolve these kind of ethical dilemmas? So it so happened that in a state secretariat, a snake has come. Snake. And you have to follow everything according to rules and regulations. So what you have to do, as the head of the department, you have to call the tenders, to catch snakes. The snake charmers, you have to call tenders. And you have to ask them about their experience, how much money they charge. And the tenders should be in sealed covers. And they should be opened only at a appropriate amount of time after giving opportunity for the people to apply for tenders. After that, the tenders should be opened in presence of all those bidders. And then after that, looking at their experience and the cost of production, you have to award the tender to a person who quotes the least amount of money. In between, the snake does not know all these things. It kept on biting everyone. That is what happens in the government. That is what, whenever our Prime Minister goes to America, he would always say that, please come to India. I will give you red carpet welcome. He will tell the American investors. American investors, they don't have to be nice to our Prime Minister. And Americans are known for their blunt language. They always call a spade more than a spade. They don't have any kind of civilized dialogue as such. If you look at American diplomacy and British diplomacy, that is the difference. Britishers are more civilized. Americans are more at your face, straightforward. So when our Prime Minister had asked these American investors, please come and invest in our country, they said that you always promise us that when we come to India, we always get a red carpet welcome. But what we see is only red tapeism. So many rules, so many regulations, so much of hierarchy. We have to take permission from at least 150 ministries and departments in your government of India. All our time is spent only in moving around in circles, going from one department to other department, to one ministry to other ministry. So why should we come and invest in your country? Prime Minister had to make a promise to them that I will make sure that all your investment proposals are cleared within a specific period of time. He had to make that kind of promise. Why? Because one of the major problems with governance in our country is this red tapeism. Too much of delay in decision making processes. Too many complicated rules and regulations. Too many hierarchical levels within the government. That is where we say bad governance. And what happens because of these things? You have to pay bribes to everyone. After paying bribes also, there is no guarantee that you will be getting the work done. There is no guarantee. For example, in MCD, in other government departments everywhere else, not only in Delhi, you go to any state or any local administration, you have to pay, they will talk to you only when you pay bribes. Otherwise, nobody will talk. And the worst thing is that, you have this kind of bribery and corruption there in countries like China also. What is the difference? They take bribes and they will do work. In India, they will take bribes and they will not do work also. And if you ask them to do work, they will deliberately delay it more because there is no accountability. That is what I said. These are all the features of bad governance. Absolutely no accountability mechanisms in our system. Bureaucracy is not at all directly accountable to the people. We don't have any mechanism to make our bureaucracy accountable. That is the reason why we have so many ethics case studies about these things only. How to ensure accountability. The word transparency and accountability, it has been repeated so much in our both governance and ethics papers. because our administration is characterized by complete absence of transparency. We don't know how the decisions are made. We don't know how the decisions are implemented. That is the reason why we say that wherever there is secrecy, there is always scope for corruption. And there is no accountability also. If you go and ask that person, concerned person, and what is happening with my file, he will say, get lost. If he is a good person. If he is a bad person, he will start beating you. How dare you come and ask? And he will say that you paid only this much amount of bribes, pay 10 times penalty. Because you are making me accountable also. What can you do? You cannot do anything. That is where we say bad governance. And this bad governance is one of the most important reasons why we don't have what is called rapid economic growth and development. In fact, you can add one more point also, delayed justice, as someone has pointed out also. Delayed, D-E-L-A-Y-A-D, delayed justice. And you never know, when you approach judiciary, when will they come out with the judgment? You never know. In the Supreme Court itself, 80,000 cases are pending. Supreme Court itself. And the Government of India, Ministry of Law, comes out with a very good update on the number of cases that are pending. It has said that it has already crossed 50 million cases. We can celebrate it. Within a very short period of time, it will be 100 million cases also. That is where what you call bad governance. These are all the features of bad governance. Absolute monopoly of the state in allocation of resources. And this is where corruption will be there. For example, all the natural resources of the country are with the state. State means those who are in positions of power. And they have huge amount of discretionary powers to allocate those resources. And there are no specific, what you call laws, rules and regulations governing the allocation of those resources. They can give the resources to whomever they think, they are close to them. That results in what is called chronic capitalism. Nexus between the politicians, bureaucrats and businessmen. What we call it as systematic corruption. And we find these regulatory authorities being a complete failure. From SEBI to CCI, Competition Commission of India, to all other regulatory authorities. As we discussed also, CCI has not been able to prevent market monopolies. Because they don't have any real powers also. That is where we say bad governance. And that is the reason why we say that what we require is good governance. Good governance. Right? Yes. Everything. That's what we said. Excessive bureaucracy and red tapeism and rules and regulations. Right? So, proceeding further, let us look at this concept of good governance. So what are we discussing here? First, we will discuss why and how this concept of good governance had come into existence. Why and how this concept of good governance had come into existence. We will also look at what is good governance. We will look at important features of good governance. What are the important features of good governance? We will look at important features of good governance. Let us look at all of them. So, why and how this concept of good governance had come into existence? Let us see first. For this, we have to go back a little bit, say, to the period of independence. As we study, after the Second World War, decolonization process took place. You must have studied these things in world history also, right? Decolonization process took place after the Second World War. One of the conditions America had put before it entered into the Second World War was these imperial powers must give freedom to their colonies. So the process of giving independence started after the Second World War, and most of the countries got independence by 1950. And what was the problem with all those countries which were ruled by these imperial powers for hundreds of years, including India? The problem was that these colonies suffered from various kinds of problems because of ruthless colonial exploitation. Take the case of India only. At the time of independence, if we look at our country, it suffered from poverty, unemployment, backwardness, food problem, absence of industrialization, illiteracy, absence of infrastructure. All these were the problems. It was the same with almost all the colonies. It was same with all the colonies also that were exploited by these imperial powers. As we study in economics, what is the most important thing that is needed to ensure rapid growth and development? What is needed to ensure rapid economic growth and development? What is the only thing that is required? What is required to ensure rapid growth and development? Without which there cannot be any growth or development. Only thing that is required is investment. Without investment, there cannot be any growth and development. You are talking about infrastructure. That infrastructure can come only with investment. Investment. If this investment comes from the government, it is called socialism. If it comes from the private sector, it is called capitalism. That is a simple difference between socialism and capitalism. Investment. And the problem for all these poor countries is that they don't have any money for investment. Look at the time of independence in India. What was the India's first budget, 1948? It was only around 1700 crores. Right? We did not have money. So where can this money come from? Within the country you don't have money. And this is the same with almost all the developing countries. At this point of time, important institutions, multilateral institutions had come into existence. We said two important, in fact the third also. First one is IBRD, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Second one is IMF. Third one is GATT. The third one normally mostly people don't know. General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, which later was renamed as World Trade Organization. Right? These two are called Bretton Woods twins. This IBRD also popularly known as World Bank. So what is the difference between World Bank and IMF? These questions were asked in your prelims only. What is the difference between World Bank and IMF? In terms of their functions, what is the difference? It was asked in your prelims also. What is the basic difference between World Bank and IMF? World Bank will provide financial assistance to countries in the form of aid and loan. This financial assistance is what is called long-term financial assistance. The loans will be given for a period of 20 years, 30 years, 40 years for infrastructure development and industrialization, so that the countries can progress in a rapid manner. That is what the World Bank will be doing. What about IMF? IMF purpose is completely different. The objective of IMF is to provide a short-term financial assistance to countries to overcome their immediate BOP crisis. It will be providing foreign exchange to the countries to overcome their immediate BOP crisis. This is the difference between World Bank and IMF. Right? So what happened at that point of time? Both the World Bank and IMF, they always give loans with conditionalities. Nobody will give you money free of cost. They will always put conditionalities. Right? So what happened immediately after this decolonization process? This World Bank started providing loans to all these developing countries. All those developing countries. It was providing what is called long-term financial assistance. The loans were running into 30 years, 40 years. So that they can use that money to construct infrastructure, to build infrastructure, to industrialize their countries. Once they build infrastructure and industrialize their countries, they will be getting revenues. Those revenues will be used to repay the loans. That is the idea here, to repay the loans. So this is what the idea. All these countries, developing countries, have taken those loans, all of them, including India. Because no country had any kind of a choice also here, alternative, because they don't have any money. At that point of time, World Bank was headed by, almost all the time you should be knowing these things, World Bank is always headed by an American, whereas IMF is always headed by a European, a person from Europe. That is the arrangement between Europe and America. So at that point of time, World Bank was headed by John Maynard Keynes, one of the topmost economists in the world. He was the one who had come out with the solution to this problem of a Great Depression of 1930s, J.M. Keynes. So he was heading World Bank, and he had suggested that let this World Bank give loans to these countries at what he called them as soft loans. Soft loan means, what is a soft loan? The rate of interest is less and the gestation period is very long. America at this point of time did not agree with Keynes, and they had given loans at a very high rate of interest. These countries don't have any kind of what we call choice alternative here. They had to take loans. And what happened is that in all these countries that we are talking about, Latin American countries, Sub-Saharan African countries, South Asian countries, they started with some kind of democracy after independence, but within a very short period of time, all of them went into the hands of dictators. All of them went into the hands of dictators. What did the dictators do? They took these loans and used that money for their personal luxuries and other expenses. Some of them have taken those loans and have invested in Hollywood films. Right? You have heard about this Colonel Gaddafi. That is what he had done. Dictatorship. They have used and misused those loans. So you are taking the loan in 1950 and you are asked to repay the loan in 1980. 30 years are over. The loan period is 30 years. When can you repay the loan? You can repay the loan only when you are able to convert that loan into a productive asset, like public sector enterprise, like constructing roads, irrigation dams, so that farmers' productivity will increase, they will pay more taxes. That money can be used to repay the loan. But this was not done. So by 1980s, all these countries were asked to repay the loan, because the loan was for a period of 30 years. And all of them, in all these countries, those dictators have misused those loans. And they said that we don't have any money, we cannot repay. They told World Bank, we cannot repay. What can World Bank do? If you are not repaying, what can they do? This is what is called, as we study again in our economics, what is popularly known as sovereign debt. Have you heard about this term? Sovereign debt. What is meant by sovereign debt? What do you mean by sovereign debt? Yes, sir. Have you heard about this term? Yes, very good. Because you always answer complicated questions very easily. Now the simple question, what is it? Why it is called sovereign debt? Very simple. You are going to a bank and you say that give me loan of 1 lakh rupees. I want to prepare for UPSC. 2 lakhs, okay, fine. Okay, right, right. Okay, don't get emotional, right, please. Right, there is absolutely, you will not gain anything by getting emotional. Right, say let us say 2 lakhs for the sake of your psychological satisfaction, right, 2 lakhs. Will the bank give you the loan? They will say, what will you do? You will say that I will prepare for UPSC. Then immediately bank will say that give us collateral security. Collateral security means you have to show an asset. If you fail to repay the loan, bank can sell that asset and recover the loan. That is what is called collateral security. Bank will say that since you are preparing for UPSC, show us collateral security of 2 crores. Because they know what? That you will never repay. The loan will become automatically NPA. Right? Non-performing. I am not talking about you people. I am talking about bank loans. Right? It will NPA. Now, if a country is taking a loan from, say, World Bank, do the country need to give any collateral security? India is taking, let us take a loan from World Bank. Will the World Bank say that we have heard that you have constructed your parliament and it is looking like a 7-star hotel? Right? Make your parliament as collateral security. Anyway, it does not function also, so right? Make it as your collateral security. If tomorrow you don't repay it, we will confiscate your parliament. Can World Bank say those kind of things? Then how do they give you loans? How do they give you loans? They give you loans on the basis of what is called the sovereignty of the country. That is why it is called sovereign debt. They are giving you loans on the basis of the independence of your country. Your country has been recognized by the United Nations. They will give you loans on the basis of sovereignty or independence of your country. They don't look for any kind of what is called collateral securities. They believe that you have the kind of goodwill and credibility to repay the loans. On the basis of the goodwill and credibility, they will give you the loans. Tomorrow, you say that you will not repay the loan. What can the World Bank do? What can they do? Nothing. They will sit in the corner of a room and start crying. Because they cannot do anything. Greece, I don't know whether you have studied these things, your economy or not, as part of IR, this foreign international foreign trade and all these things, international trade. In 2008 financial crisis, there are so many countries in Europe which have collapsed. We called them as PIGS countries. Portugal, Ireland, Italy, Greece and Spain. PIGS, right? People are very intelligent, right? For example, when it comes to inflation, we talk about the top. Very important. Tomatoes, onions and potatoes. Top. Someone called it as pot. You know what is pot? Right? Right. So that is what. Because if the prices of any of these things go up, the government will lose power. In 1979, after the Janata Party government was voted, had lost power, elections were held. And the prices of onions have reached 100 rupees per kilo. After that, till now, Janata Party did not come back to power. Onions are very, very sensitive. When you cut them, you will have tears. When politicians hear about them, they will have tears. In 1998, elections were held to Delhi State Assembly. Sushma Swaraj was the Chief Minister of Delhi. And unfortunately, at that point of time, the prices of onions in Delhi have reached 100 rupees per kilo. 2023. BJP does not know what is power in Delhi. For the last 25 years, power of onions. It is not Aam Aadmi, not Mango Man, it is Onion Man. That will decide electoral outcomes. That is the reason why the governments will be very sensitive. So coming back here, when these countries have said that they will not, they are not in a position to repay. We are talking about Greece here. So Greece also had taken loans from IMF and World Bank. So they have said that, please repay the loans. Greece has said that we will not repay, do whatever you want. Greece has said that, we were occupied by Germany during the Second World War, and Germany had taken us so much of money from us. So let the Germany return all that money and we will repay the loan. What kind of logic is this? Nothing can be done. If you cannot repay, if you don't repay, they cannot do much. They cannot do anything because it is called sovereign debt. They are giving loans on the basis of sovereignty. Only thing they can do is that they will not give you further loans. No problem. For example, Sri Lankan debt crisis 2 years back. Sri Lanka had around $2 billion for debt crisis, foreign debt. They don't have any money. They told IMF that we cannot repay, do whatever you want. IMF has said that no problem, let us not take that kind of drastic decisions. We will give you more loans to repay the old loan. Because that is what they do. And that is what exactly World Bank also has said. World Bank has said that, so these countries, Latin American countries, Sub-Saharan African countries, South Asian countries, all of them, they have said that we don't have any money to repay. So they said that give us fresh loans. Give us fresh loans to repay old debt. To repay old debt. Give us fresh loans. World Bank is also cannot be so innocent again. You will commit the mistake once, but not all the time. Right? As a essay topic also last year was asked, history first repeats as itself, then as a farce. If you commit the same kind of mistake all the time, it will become a farce. So World Bank has said that, yes, we will give you fresh loans, but these loans will come with conditionalities. They will come with conditionalities. These loans we will give you only with conditionalities. If you fulfill those conditionalities, then only we will give you those loans. These conditionalities, all these conditionalities combined together, we call it as good governance. That is how the concept of good governance had come into existence. And this concept of good governance had come into existence for the first time. It was used by the World Bank in 1992. That is how the concept of a good governance had come. Do you want any break? Because nowadays I am not taking classes here. In my institute normally I don't give any break. It is a very democratic dictatorship. Right? Shall we continue or shall I give a break? Very good. Democracy is never good. Right? So after the break we will look at what exactly is this good governance and everything. So shall we start? So what the World Bank has mentioned to these countries is that they are definitely willing to provide fresh loans to repay the old debt. But these fresh loans will be provided only when certain conditions are fulfilled. As you studied in economics also, or economy, in 1980s, we had this word that was used by the World Bank, Washington Consensus. Have you heard about it? No. Right, Washington Consensus. As part of Washington Consensus, it has come out with certain conditionalities. They said that these countries must open up their economies, what you call globalization. They must remove controls over the functioning of their private sector, called liberalization. They must also privatize their public sector enterprises, called privatization, popularly known as LPG, liberalization, privatization and globalization. It also said that these countries must devalue their currencies, like Pakistan was asked to devalue its currencies, even now also, right? So Pakistan currency is going down like your preparation, right? Right, okay, your preparation is much faster, right, okay, right. So that is what happened. They said that implement all these reforms. Broadly what we call it as World Bank had asked these countries to adopt what we call them as neoliberal policies. Neoliberal policies. It has said that cut down your fiscal deficits, reduce your revenue expenditure, privatize your public sector enterprises, adopt a public-private partnership for service delivery mechanisms, then devalue your currency, and remove controls over the functioning of private sector, open up your economy to the rest of the world. These were all part of what we call popularly known as Washington Consensus. Apart from this, World Bank also has said that improve the functioning of your administrative systems, governance systems. Your governance system is characterized by corruption, inefficiency, unaccountability, dictatorship, absence of citizen participation. And World Bank has said that improve your governance systems. And it has come out with this concept of good governance, saying that we shall give you loans only when your governance system display certain characteristics, certain features. And World Bank had come out with 8 important features of good governance. What are those features? Transparency. We have seen all the features of bad governance. Reverse them, you will get good governance. Transparency, accountability, participation, consensus oriented, then rule of law, economy and efficiency, inclusiveness and equity, and lastly responsiveness. Responsiveness. So World Bank has said that if you can ensure these 8 important features in the functioning of your political and administrative systems, we shall give you loans. These are the conditionalities which you have to fulfill. All of them combined together, we call it as good governance. We must remember that this term governance is a neutral term. We said that governance is the process of taking decisions and implementing the decisions. We never say it is good or bad. Bad governance means when you take the decisions in a monopolistic manner, in a highly secretive manner, with a centralized decision making process without participation of citizens, which results in corruption and misuse of power, which ultimately leads to red tapeism and in wastage of resources. That is what we call bad governance. On the other hand, when you are taking decisions and implementing those decisions, you must ensure transparency. You must ensure accountability. You ensure participation of citizens. And there should be consensus-oriented decision-making process. And of course, there must be rule of law, strict implementation of rule of law. And you must also ensure economy and efficiency, inclusiveness and equity. Your administration should always respond to the problems of people. That is what the World Bank has said. Good governance is a qualitative term which speaks about ensuring efficient and effective administrative systems with the objective of maximizing welfare of people. That is what World Bank has said. It has said that we shall provide you loans only when you can ensure us these things. Otherwise, we will not give you loans. Because as I have mentioned earlier, countries can take loans on the basis of their sovereignty. If they don't repay the loans, what can the World Bank or IMF or America can do? They cannot do anything. They cannot come and confiscate your parliament and Supreme Court, because they are only sovereign debt. No strings are attached to the debt. No collateral security need to be given. So they said that next time onwards, we have to give you loans. Make sure that you have credible administration, so that the loans are used in a proper and efficient manner. That is how the concept of good governance has come into existence. Let us take down these points. Then we will look at all of them one by one, the meaning of each and every term also. Write down, I said, how this concept of good governance had come into existence. How this concept of good governance had come into existence. How the concept of good governance had come into existence. You can write down. Immediately after Second World War, immediately after Second World War, decolonization process took place. Decolonization process took place, wherein all the colonies ruled by imperial powers. All the colonies ruled by imperial powers got independence. Got independence because of full stop, because of centuries of exploitation, CENTURIES, because of centuries of exploitation, these countries' economic condition, was extremely critical. It was extremely critical. It was extremely critical. For example, India's economic condition was characterized by high levels of poverty, unemployment, illiteracy, backwardness, absence of infrastructure, and industrialization. all these countries were in need of all these countries were in need NEED of rapid economic growth and development. Rapid economic growth and development. It is a well-known fact. It is a well-known, W-E-L-L, well-known, K-N-O-W-N, fact that rapid economic growth and development is possible. Rapid economic growth and development is possible only with investment. Only with investment. Two important multilateral institutions. Two important multilateral institutions had come into existence in the form of World Bank and IMF. World Bank and IMF to provide financial assistance. In the form of World Bank and IMF to provide financial assistance to member countries. See, these are all very specific things, because in your prelims, they said that World Bank had come into existence to provide long-term financial assistance to all countries. The statement is wrong. Only member countries. That is the reason why you need that kind of clarity, conceptual clarity. To member countries. World Bank had come into existence. World Bank had come into existence to provide long-term financial assistance. To provide a long-term financial assistance to member countries for industrialization and infrastructure development purposes. Infrastructure development purposes. Latin American countries, next paragraph. Latin American countries, Sub-Saharan African countries, Sub-Saharan African countries, and South Asian countries, had taken loans from World Bank. Had taken loans from World Bank. From World Bank. These loans had a gestation period of gestation period of 30 to 40 years. 30 to 40 years. Since most of these countries went into the hands of dictators, comma, the financial assistance was misused for their personal 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 comforts and luxuries. By 1980s, they had failed to repay the loans. Since full stop, since it is a sovereign debt, DEBT in brackets, loans given on the basis of sovereignty of a nation, without any collateral securities. You can close the brackets. World Bank could not recover them. World Bank could not recover them. These countries demanded that fresh loans should be given to them. So that they can repay the old debt. World Bank had agreed to provide fresh loans but with certain conditionalities. These conditionalities in 1980s were popularly known as a Washington Consensus. Countries were asked to cut down their fiscal deficits, devalue their currencies, open up their economies, to the rest of the world, in brackets globalization. Privatize their loss-making public sector enterprises, in brackets privatization. comma, dismantle their excessive rules and regulations, excessive rules and regulations, in brackets liberalization. Next paragraph. Within the political and administrative, within the political and administrative, within the political and administrative systems, within the political and administrative systems, comma, they were asked to implement, they were asked to implement many governance reforms. Many governance reforms. All these reforms combined together, all these reforms combined together are popularly known as the concept of good governance. The concept of good governance, popularly known as the concept of good governance. Next paragraph. Governance is a neutral term. Governance is a neutral term wherein it talks about the process of taking decisions and process of taking decisions and implementing them. Good governance is a qualitative term which emphasizes on certain parameters to be followed, certain parameters or standards to be followed, while taking decisions and implementing them. Next paragraph. The objective of good governance, is to maximize welfare for maximum number of people, and for longest periods of time. Next paragraph. World Bank has identified 8 important features of good governance. 8 important features of good governance. 8 important features of good governance. They include, you can write down all of them. First, transparency. Second, accountability. Third, participatory in nature. Participatory in nature. Fourth, consensus oriented. Consensus, CONSENSUS, oriented. Fifth, rule of law. Next, economy and efficiency. ECONYMY, economy and efficiency. Next, seventh, inclusiveness and equity. Inclusiveness and equity. And the last one is responsiveness. Responsiveness. So these are all the features identified by World Bank for good governance. And what you must remember is that all these features are the syllabus of our entire ethics paper and governance paper and polity paper also. Whenever you are in doubt about writing answers, you will say that there should be accountability within the system, judiciary. Whenever you are in doubt. Whenever you are in doubt about writing answers, you should say that there should be participation of citizens. We must transform our representative democracy into participatory democracy. And again, whenever you are in doubt about writing answers to polity, you say that what we require is rule of law. So if you remember all these 8 features, it means that your preparation for polity, governance and ethics papers is over. You don't have to remember anything. And write about any of these features whenever you are in doubt. The examiner, as usual, will have tears in his eyes, looking at your in-depth knowledge of the subject. Out of 10 marks, he will give you 1 more 0, 100 marks also. You have to remember all these features. You have to remember all these features. Very, very important. So let us look at all of them one by one. What is transparency? So how we are going to discuss all of them? We will start with why do we need this one? What is it? Right? Because transparency, will be spending a lot of time on RTI, right to information. One full class will be spending only on transparency, because these 2 words, transparency and accountability, they have been repeated so many times in our syllabus by UPSC in both governance as well as ethics papers. Of course, there is neither transparency nor accountability in the functioning of UPSC. That is a different thing. We will not go into all those what you call sensitive subjects, right? For example, you are writing your main examination. You are writing only for 100 marks, but when the final results come, you are getting 125 marks. How? Why? We don't know. Because UPSC will never give you your mains answer sheet. They will never give you your mains answer sheet. They will never give you your prelims answer sheet also. They will only tell you that this is the marks you have got. And it is like, once it comes out of UPSC, can you do anything? Nothing. It is like a paste coming out of toothpaste. Can you put it back? Can you put it back? Yes? Very good. Okay. That is the reason why you are here. Otherwise, for doing all such stupid things, right? Why do you have to waste your time in doing those things? Right. So, as I said, that is the problem. You have not learnt lessons. We have completed entire polity classes. You should know that you should not be answering the questions innocently. The second part of the question can be very problematic. What happened? Dark mode. Okay. So, coming back here, World Bank has come out with all these 8 important features. All of them are repeatedly asked, as I keep on saying, in both our ethics paper as well as governance papers. So let us start with the first one, transparency. Why do we need transparency in administration? Why? Because wherever there is secrecy, there is always a scope for misuse and abuse of power. In our ethics paper, they have asked a statement to explain. Normally, they will give you some statements and they will say that explain the statement. These statements are given by the philosophers. One of the statements is that we can understand when children are afraid of darkness. Children are afraid of darkness, we can understand. But the problem comes up when grown-up people are afraid of light. Problem comes up when grown-up people are afraid of light. First part of the statement, let us try to understand. We can understand when children are afraid of darkness. All of us, maybe all of you also, in your childhood, you must have been afraid of darkness. Already you can see here, people are talking about dark. When the light went off only for a few seconds. Right? So, in your childhood also you must have been afraid of darkness, right? Yes or no? Yes. Anyone who is not afraid of darkness? Please remember, be careful while raising hands. Still people are raising. Okay? Okay, so since very few people have raised hands, let us come to them. Right? So, why they are not afraid of darkness? That is what we have to think. Normally in our childhood we have been taught that, we have been told that in darkness you have these spirits and devils and they will be moving, and that is the reason why we are afraid. That is the only reason. Why those who have raised hands are not afraid of darkness? Because spirits are afraid of them, because they are more dangerous than spirits. Right? So otherwise, we can understand when children are afraid of darkness. The second part of the statement is more important. It says that the problem comes up when grown-up people are afraid of light. That is what we say. The problem is that when you are afraid of light, why? Because under light, all your misdeeds can be seen by others. All your corruption, all your nepotism, favoritism, all your misuse of power can be seen. That is the reason why you can see that within the government there is so much of opposition to right to information. Because this right to information, what it does? It will ensure complete transparency in administration. Whenever there is transparency, automatically it will be problematic for the grown-up people, because people will come to know about their corruption. On the other hand, if there is complete secrecy in administration, you can do whatever you want. You can indulge in corruption, misuse of power, nepotism, favoritism, abuse of authority. Nobody will recognize, nobody will come to know about it. That is the reason why since 2005 onwards, when we have passed this landmark legislation, right to information, as part of a rights-based approach to development, every government that had come to power after that made sure that this RTA would become totally ineffective. And since 2005 onwards, as we discussed later with RTA, more than 500 RTA activists have been killed because they wanted to bring into focus the corruption of the contractors and the politicians into public. They have been killed. You must have seen in newspapers also. Last week also there was a news item that an RTA activist has been killed also. I don't know whether you are reading newspapers or not. Yes? Yes or no? Okay, very good. Let's hope. Right. As I keep on saying, please remember, our UPSC preparation starts and ends with newspaper reading only. All the questions in polity this year are related to newspapers only. Everything. Even in governance also, all the questions are related to only newspapers. Make sure that you are continuing with your newspaper reading. So that is what happens. That is the reason why since 2005 till now, every government that had come to power made sure that this RTA would become totally ineffective. Because they don't want any kind of transparency within administration. We still don't know how the Council of Ministers take decisions. Why? Because as we have discussed in polity, these meetings of the cabinet are held in a highly secretive manner. We don't know what happens in those ministries and departments. Why? Because everything is done in a highly secretive manner. Nobody wants any kind of secrecy, because transparency means it automatically leads to accountability also. That is the reason why World Bank has said that if you want to have good governance, the first and foremost feature is you must ensure transparency. Second, Administrative Reforms Commission has submitted 15 reports. One of the reports is about RTI, right to information. And it has said that this right to information is the master key to open the locks of good governance. All other features of good governance we can see only with the transparency. Without transparency, there cannot be any good governance. And still, if you look at India, there is no transparency in administration at all. And the question that they have asked in our both ethics and polity governance papers, repeatedly every year, talk about the efforts made by the governments, successive governments, to make this RTI totally ineffective. We have Official Secrets Act, the question that was asked last year in our ethics paper. This Official Secrets Act is being used by the government to make sure that whatever that happens in the government will always remain highly secretive. Because when there is secrecy, there can be scope for misuse of power and corruption. That is the reason why World Bank has said that if you want to have any good governance, it must start with transparency. And this transparency has been strongly opposed, because it would not allow the politicians and the bureaucrats to indulge in corruption. Simply, since 2005 onwards, there are so many hurdles, there are so many problems that are created. Second ERC, as I said, has submitted one full report only about this RTI only. What are the major weaknesses? We will talk about all of them. So just start with the transparency. Transparency, you can write. High levels of secrecy. High levels of secrecy is one of the important high levels of secrecy is one of the important features of bad governance. Features of bad governance. It can allow ALLOW, those who are in positions of power, to indulge in corruption, to misuse and abuse their authority, and to indulge in nepotism, 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 and favoritism, in their functioning. Next paragraph. World Bank has rightly identified that transparency in administration is necessary to realize the objectives of good governance. good governance. It will create awareness among the citizens regarding the functioning of their governments, which ultimately can lead to demand for participation and accountability. India has passed RTI, Right to Information Act, in 2005 to ensure transparency in governance. Right. As I said, we will have one full class about only RTI, because this RTI is very important from both governance and ethics. Combined together, you will have at least minimum 60 to 70 marks only from RTI every year. Very important topic. Next one is accountability. What is this accountability and why this accountability is important? So what exactly do we mean by accountability? Accountability means we are making a person legally responsible for his actions. We are making a person legally responsible for his actions. That is what we call accountability. Legally responsible. That means you are asked to do something you have not done. In a sense, you have not done those things, I can punish you according to law. That is what is called accountability. So what does it mean exactly? Let us try to understand why this accountability is important. If you look at the functioning of our parliamentary democracy, we talk about three important institutions in our parliamentary democracy. First one is the political executive. Here, bureaucracy. And of course, ultimately, people. Political executive, bureaucracy, and people. Political executive is accountable to people. How? Through electoral process. Every 5 years, they have to get themselves elected. Bureaucracy is accountable to political executive. How? Political executive has the power to decide their promotions, transfers, postings, suspensions, removals. Yesterday you must have seen in newspapers, an IAS officer was removed. That officer was compulsorily retired from service. Right? Right. So the names are not required. Okay. Why do you want to remember those kind of officers? Remember good officers. Right? So, but the problem is that in our parliamentary democracy, there is no direct accountability of bureaucracy towards the citizens. There is no direct accountability of bureaucracy towards the citizens. And this bureaucracy, they are permanent. They are permanent. Once you get into services, you will be there for the next 35 years. Let us assume that you are getting into services at the age of 25. For the next 35 years, you will be there in service. Nobody can remove you. You are given security of tenure under Articles 310 and 311 of our Constitution also. So you cannot be given, you have that kind of security of tenure. They are permanent. They have huge amount of powers. You are a police officer. Just for fun, you don't like a person and you kill him. And call that person Naxalite come, terrorist come, communalist come, regionalist and everything. Secessionist come. Get presidential gold medal also for bravery. For killing a dreaded terrorist also. Right? They have huge amount of powers and they are not accountable. They are not accountable. Right? They are not accountable. And what do you call it as? Dictatorship. In dictatorship, the dictator is permanent and he has lot of powers, huge amount of powers, and there is no accountability. That is the reason why good governance talks about accountability. There must be accountability at each and every level within the administration. There must be accountability. When we are paying money for the services, why can't we get 24-hour safe drinking water? Why can't we expect very good condition with roads? Now you can see when you are traveling on roads, all your physical body exercises will be done. You will become six-pack also. Right? Because you are moving up and down and sideways and everything. All kinds of exercises. Right? Because of the condition of the roads. When the government is collecting so much of taxes from us, what is the money? Where is the money going on? And why the government hospitals are so filthy? Why in government hospitals there is more safety and security for rats than people? Right? And why in the government schools the quality of education is so bad? According to All India School Education Report, ASER, 9th standard students cannot read or do the sums of 2nd standard. I am not talking about you people. Because for you people the standards are very high, 1st standard only. Right? What is the reason why? See, what is the reason why people in India do not want to pay taxes? Why? Because after paying so much of tax, what are the basic minimum services the government is providing to us? Look at Delhi. We are coming to this month of October, and then we have this Diwali. During the time of Diwali, the pollution levels are so high that World Bank is always in amazement about the people of Delhi. How can they live with so much of pollution also? The pollution levels are 20 times higher than what is called dangerous by World Bank. How? How? You only talk about 7 wonders. This is the first wonder. How can? So why should we have so much of pollution when we are paying? That is what we say accountability. And what our politicians and bureaucrats have done is that they made sure that they are never accountable for their actions. For example, once we elect our political executive, for the next 5 years, is there any accountability? No, there is no accountability. As we discussed in our polity, for the next 5 years, what you can have is only electoral dictatorship. If the ruling political party has absolute majority in both the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, they can do anything and everything. They can amend any part of the constitution. And the role of judiciary is only post-mortem in nature. And is there any accountability? Not at all. That is the reason why World Bank has said that accountability is a very important part of good governance. From the topmost level to the lowest level, there should be accountability in administration. Then only administration can be efficient also. When the roads are not cleaned properly, there is no accountability. When there is so much of pollution, there is no accountability. When there is no safety and security to the lives of the people, there is no accountability in the system. When the number of cases are pending with our judiciary, there is no accountability. That is what we say. And that is the reason why we say this accountability is one of the most important features of good governance. That is what you write, accountability. Accountability means making the concerned person legally responsible for his actions. Legally responsible for his actions. India has inherited colonial colonial administrative systems, wherein the Britishers deliberately made sure that bureaucracy is never made accountable to the citizens. For their actions. It led to inefficiency and corruption. Next paragraph. As a part of a rights-based approach, based approach to governance, many governance reforms have been implemented. To ensure accountability. Many governance reforms have been implemented to ensure accountability of administrators, including citizen charters, charter, CHARTER, e-governance, social audit, and so on. We will be talking about all of them. To ensure accountability. Why? Because we have inherited the British administrative systems, which deliberately made sure that bureaucracy would never be made accountable. That is what, if you want, you can take this. Anyway, I will be dictating this also later. As we proceed, I will come to all these things. Right? Yes. Local self-governments, you can talk about local self-governments in terms of participation, but not accountability. Gram Sabhas, participation. Next feature of good governance is, what did you write? Participatory. Okay, participatory. We say participatory in nature. That is what we said. So what exactly this participatory in nature? Let us try to understand. As we have mentioned, in our country we have only representative democracy. So participation of citizens in democracy ends the moment they vote in elections. As we discussed in polity also, sovereignty of citizens can be seen only for those few seconds when they stand in front of EVMs, electronic voting machines. After that, there is neither sovereignty nor participation. For the next 5 years, simply they cannot participate in governance. All the decisions are taken by people elected representatives without consulting the people. Again, as I said, we don't know who is the contractor who is responsible for maintenance of our roads. We don't know how much amount of money the government is paying to the doctors in the government hospitals, because there is no participation here. We cannot decide anything ourselves, for ourselves. That is the reason why good governance says that it should be participatory in nature. People should be given opportunities to participate in decision making as well as implementation processes. How this is possible? By transferring power to the people at the lowest level. We spoke about Gram Sabhas. Let the Gram Sabha be the basic unit of administration. Let all the decisions taken by the people through participation and consensus. Similarly, in the urban areas, let there be what we call ward committees, wherein the people of that locality come together and take decisions. What should be the condition of roads? What about the drinking water? What about the electricity? What about the maintenance of the local parks? What about the maintenance of the local schools and hospitals? Everything should be given to the people. How they can be given to the people? With the help of what we call citizen charters, participatory in nature. So this is what we say participatory. Why? Because we have only representative democracy. Unfortunately, it has not resulted in participatory democracy. So give power to the people. Democracy is all about sovereignty of citizens. That is what we call participatory. So is it time? Okay, I can see people are looking at me with so much of impatience. He's talking about good governance all the time but not implementing in the class. Please remember, all these features of good governance are there only for us to write. But there is neither accountability in the class nor transparency. Never participation. It is only dictatorship. Right? So tomorrow we will look at all these features of good governance. Then, as I said, we will talk briefly about corruption, so that we can look at all other reforms also. I think we have classes tomorrow and till Sunday I think we have classes. Why do you want to come on Sundays also? Jobless growth, right? Right. Huh? I did not get you. Okay, very good, very good. You remember all those things, right?